Everybody, welcome back to BROHOOD Productions. This is going on the podcast, so everybody who likes Spotify more than they like YouTube, you're going to listen to us in your car. You're going to hear our beautiful voices again. So this is kind of our mid-year episode. All the JP doesn't have to worry about this anymore, but we have some mid-year reviews where our boss sits down with us and basically tells us how we did. So this is kind of our mid-year episode.
I actually don't have that, but I have heard that's very common in the corporate world.
Yeah, JP doesn't have to deal with it. I do, but that's not important. Something that is of important value is the writers and actors strike going on. We pray that we can return to normalcy, if I say that word correctly. We stand with the writers and the actors. I think JP and I do. I just want everything to be fair. Pay them what they need to be paid. Be nice to each other. I've already had to deal with a pandemic, respect and no respect, whatever you care about.
Well,
Where I didn't have sports, even though I consider the bubble a championship. All those haters out there, and we had to deal with, how was it, 2 years without a movie, and then we finally got Shang-Chi. So yeah, I want everything to go back to normal.
I think it's more about how shareholders want to maximize in profits because they can now see that someone can pump out a movie and make a lot of money, and it's all about leaving the creative process to the directors, writers, and actors. Keep shareholders out of it. You're gonna make money anyways. That's my 2 cents. But we can move on.
We will move on. We just want to let you know that we just want this to get over with and for the writers and actors to be paid fairly. So we got some great stuff for you today. We'll smile a little bit more instead of be why so serious. We're gonna have what we call what if. We'll get to that in a second. We're gonna have a character spotlight. We're gonna talk about one of our favorite characters, and you can tell us why or why not this character is also one of your favorite characters. And then we're going to end with JP's honest take on Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. So stay tuned for all of that. So here we go with What If. Alrighty. So right now we have, if you can see it on our screen, what if Red Hood and Daredevil fought? Red Hood versus Daredevil. Okay. We're going to tell you who we think, and then we're going to tell you why. I say Red Hood wins the fight.
Me too. I agree. Red Hood all the way, 100%.
So before you guys get out of the YouTube video, let's just say this. Daredevil is probably the more experienced martial artist. And we're just saying this is a fight, okay? Nobody's killing anyone. But even with that out of the way, Red Hood uses guns and has no mercy. Red Hood thinks like his predecessor, Batman. And if you think like Batman, you're probably going to win.
So I think the way this fight would just first off, Daredevil would really have to use its powers, his super hearing and super senses. But I think throughout the whole thing, Red Hood would dominate. Because like what Alma said, he's been trained by Batman, and no one beats Batman. So that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I think that was a quick one. So points to Red Hood. Alrighty, next up we have
Wolverine and Black Panther.
ooh, This one is just mean.
Okay, so one thing I have to say real quick. The reason why they would fight though is, let's just say um during this time Wolverine is contracted by a rogue dark top top secret dark military group to investigate Wakanda. Okay.
Not the scenario I would
Um
pick, but that's JP's brain for you.
okay. Oh, I'll give you. I'm just saying this would be the reason why they would fight. So he would go in, and Black Panther. Obviously, you would notice that someone is trying to get into their city, and they would fight. And Black Panther would do everything in his might to stop Wolverine. They both, I mean, so Wolverine has adamantium claws, and Black Panther has um, vibranium claws.
The
So
two most strongest metals.
I think Black Panther is gonna hit Wolverine a bunch of times, a bunch of times. Um, but I think it would end really quickly because Wolverine would just keep healing himself, and Black Panther can't do that as fast. So,
Yeah,
but
the
go ahead.
reason the reason I say this one's mean is because just think about it. Wolverine is not going to lose. It's Wolverine. Uh, but to JP's point, it takes three Hulks to stop a Black Panther. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. Which Hulk, I'm just using. You have to have somebody strong stop Black Panther, and even then, it takes a really strong force to stop him. You could have all the Avengers go after Black Panther, and they would lose because he's just that good. But if you put him against Wolverine, it's over. Wolverine's gonna win. OP, OP, OP.
So what would you say really quickly what how they would actually fight or meet up, like what the reason?
Well, JP has a better creative mind in this sense because it would only make sense for Wolverine to be in Wakanda on a top secret mission. But I was just thinking of like Capcom versus Marvel. This is just a fight. But if I have to
Oh,
really, but if I have to think about a scenario where two heroes would fight each other, even though the one before was DC versus Marvel, this is Marvel versus Marvel. I would say, I guess it's depending on which Black Panther you pick, but I'd kind of like to see a World War II fight,
yeah.
which would mean it's a different Black Panther, but still it's the same kind of context,
Oh
same
yeah.
power. But if we're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about T'Challa, hmm, that's a
Well,
hard
it
one.
would have to be way back then,
Yeah.
honestly. Now,
Because
more
I mean,
that I
I
think.
think T'Challa and Wolverine would be friends, so those two wouldn't fight. But maybe World War II Wolverine and the Black Panther at that time would fight each other. And either
Yeah.
way, Wolverine would still win. But it would be a pretty epic fight.
I'll just say this really quickly. It might be a little too graphic, but I think Black Panther would fight to the death. Like he would be scratching him, you know, getting on top of him and doing like these crazy, crazy martial arts skills and jumping off trees and stuff. But I think at the end, Wolverine would land a his claws right in his chest, and it would be over.
It's just a
So,
fight. We're not going to the death, but it's just a fight.
but but that also, now that I think about it, like what are the properties of adamantium and vibranium? Like, would Black Panther suit stop that?
It's a good question. We're not that articulate about that, I guess. Well, that's our take. Wolverine would win.
Okay. So
Here's our
this
last
last one,
one. Yeah, last one.
Alma really needs
Apocalypse.
to explain this one.
This one right here. It's Apocalypse versus Doctor Doom. Okay, before I say anything, I have extreme bias. I think Doctor Doom is one of the most underrated, overrated, overpowered, amazing villains in Marvel Comics. That being said, even with my bias, I would say that Doctor Doom would beat the crap out of Apocalypse.
Explain.
Doctor
Explanation.
Doom's tactics. Doctor Doom always has something up his sleeve. You don't know if we didn't talk about rules. Doctor Doom probably already has all 6 Infinity Stones. All Apocalypse has is the power of a mutant. Probably one of the most powerful mutants known to comic history. But he can't fight against a well-prepared doctor who's out for vengeance, who has ties to Kang the Conqueror, who has ties to the Beyonder, and who can defeat a Watcher just because he steals 1 Infinity Stone. So that is why I think Doctor Doom would win. Apocalypse is scary, don't get me wrong. Doctor Doom scares me more.
I have nothing to say. I cannot say.
JP cannot say why. This is, you got to pick one.
Well, because I know that recently in the comics, Doctor Doom, like Anma has said, like all these stories. So I'm very outdated to the knowledge of what Apocalypse.
Are you just basing your stuff off of X-Men Evolution and Wolverine and the X-Men?
Well, no, I remember him from the TV show most of all.
Yeah, X-Men Evolution and Wolverine and the X-Men.
Oh, I thought you were
No,
the
we're not gonna
90s,
we're not gonna talk
the
about.
90s one.
Oh yeah, the
Huh?
90s one is great. Yeah, I thought you were about to talk about X-Men Apocalypse, and that's not a good movie. So I don't know if I want to talk about that movie.
No, no, I was referring to the 90s X-Men of
Yeah,
my knowledge of
yeah,
Apocalypse.
yeah.
So I'm outdated. Um, so my first my first thought would be Apocalypse, but Doctor Doom's um history is very new, so I can't say. But if there is an answer, it would be Apocalypse. But I would have to redo this question, re-answer it another time.
Well, you guys tell us. Who do you think would win in a fight? What if? What if Doctor Doom and Apocalypse fought? That's up to you guys. Alrighty, we are now delving into our character spotlight, and our character spotlight for this episode is, I can't even think of the soundtrack right now. All I can think of is dun dun dun, but that's Terminator.
Duh, 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 duh.
I can't think of it right now. I'm mixing too many stuff. But we have here Captain America. He is our character spotlight for this episode. So I don't know if we should say this out loud, but maybe we have already said it out loud. But when we were growing up, we weren't allowed to bring comics books home from the library. So when we would go into the library to check out some books, the reason we would take so long is because JP and I would go sneak off to the comic book section and engulf as much knowledge as possible before going and picking a book. And that's why JP from time to time picked up a random book that he didn't even read when he brought it home because he ran out of time.
And I didn't want to read it.
And he did not want to read it. So and our mom would always say, what are you doing? Why did it take so long? Oh, we couldn't find something we liked. But the reason is because we were studying up on superheroes. So, of course, that is just a general phrase about our first exposure to heroes. But besides comic books, I think our first exposure to Captain America was through the successful, in my opinion, animated films by Marvel, The Ultimate Avengers. What do you think
I
about
agree.
that? Well, what do you think about Captain America, man? What makes Captain America so special in general, and what makes him so special to us?
So, right now, I'm speaking about right now. The things that I would admire most is his character, his integrity, his character. Think of a bunch of synonyms around that word. It's he's someone that will keep his word. When he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. I like him a lot too because he's a very righteous character, in my opinion. So that right now, that's why he means a lot. But when we were growing up, I always saw him as the leader. I think he led teams very well. Like people respected him. I guess it goes along with how I feel about him right now. But it's someone you look up to. So that's me.
I remember watching the X-Men Evolution TV show, and there was that episode where Wolverine was doing everything in his power to find a cure for Captain America. And there was like flashbacks to the war and how they fought alongside and they were best friends. And then of course the Ultimate Avengers 1 and 2 and pieces of the third one, the next Avengers, I think is what it's called. Like JP said, you grew up thinking that he was the leader. And then when you play the video game Ultimate Alliance 2, and you have to choose if you're going to go with Iron Man or if you're going to go with Captain America, there's that epic moment.
I always chose Captain America.
And yeah, we always pick Captain America. I can remember getting into that scene where you're like all in handcuffs, and Iron Man says, "Make your choice." And JP and I looked at each other.
We know our choice immediately.
I picked Wolverine in the game, and he picked Deadpool, and we just beat up all the Sentinels and the Ultrons and the Iron Mans because we were picking Captain America's side because they adapted the whole Civil War concept into that video game. So for us, or at least for me, it's that leadership aspect is probably spot on. And then you do have the Earth's Mightiest Heroes, where was very much the epitome of the leader. And there's that episode with him and Spider-Man that gets stuck in the subway. And I guess there was something going on where people didn't trust Captain America. And he basically has this mentor moment with Peter Parker saying, I've been ridiculed, I've been speculated, all these other things, and you continue to do the right thing. So Captain America is special in that way because he embodies this whole leadership aspect. I can hear the first Avenger music in my head. I just can't sing it for some reason. Speaking of First Avenger, I got to see that in theaters. JP was like, "Yeah, I don't want to watch that." And then I went and watched it, and I brought home all the goods, and he was like, "Yeah, I want to watch that movie." I think First Avenger is a really good Captain America movie.
Looking back, yeah, but in the beginning, not really. I don't know. It didn't feel the same. Like Alma says, like I didn't want to watch it because from the trailer, it didn't seem the same like what I've seen it before.
Yeah.
But looking back now, I really enjoy it.
Leading up to First Avenger was crazy because we didn't know who could play Captain America. We
Also, the
ahead.
other reason is everybody knows this, but Chris Evans used to play Johnny Storm.
Yeah.
In another universe.
That's gonna die. Yeah, let's go.
It's gonna be awesome. We got to do a video about that.
Yeah, we can't get sidetracked. But for those who don't understand, we're talking about Deadpool 3. But back to Captain America. Yeah, I can see if like you see it later and you go back in time, then yeah, maybe First Avenger is a much better movie. I guess I still have bias because I really wanted to see it and I went to see it.
Yeah, just remember that's me.
Yeah. And then we almost didn't get to see Winter Soldier together, and then we had the opportunity to do so.
Oh, I
And
love that movie so
that's
much.
best Captain America movie, and probably maybe a hot take, one of the best Marvel movies.
It's one of the best Marvel movies. Yeah.
I don't know. We're not going to do a ranking right now. That's not the video for it. Um, but that movie is amazing, especially when it starts in the helicopter and he doesn't grab a parachute and they're having their whatever conversation, him and Black Widow, and he jumps out of the helicopter. And the guy's like, the dumb comment, he doesn't have a parachute.
You don't need one.
He doesn't need one. And then he lands on there, and then he starts fighting the French dude. He's a French dude, right?
He is a French dude. Yeah.
And then the guy basically says, "What are you under the shield?" And Captain America repeats in French, "Let me show you," or "Let's find out," or whatever. And he beats him, and it's awesome.
He says, "We'll see."
We'll see.
I think if I'm remembering correctly, but that was pretty dope. And the dude does have like no chance.
No, he does not. He doesn't. And then you get introduced to Falcon in the movie, who is our brand new Captain America, Sam Wilson Captain America. Can't wait for the new movie. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the new title, but oh well, we're still going to watch it. It's going to be an amazing movie. It has a lot of JP's villains in there, because if you didn't know, JP's the Hulk. So we're going to see JP's hot takes coming in after we watch Captain America 4.
It's gonna be really good because I've become very political lately. So
And then you got Civil War. Now, I don't know if a lot of people know this about at least me. I think you know a little bit how I feel about it. I really liked Civil War, but it's not my favorite out of the Captain America trilogies. I think right now it's tied with First Avenger. I think it's a better Avengers movie than Age of Ultron was, because it's what it is. It's more of an Avengers movie than a Captain America movie. But they adapted it, of course, like Marvel does. Spider-Man was in it. Awesome. When I saw the trailer, I was so hyped. Not what I expected, but I was still hyped. It wasn't a bad movie. I don't want to give that impression the Civil War is bad. I give it a really good score. Your thoughts?
it was really good. But I think because it wasn't, they were sort of adopting the comic story, but they had to really adapt it to the overarching Infinity Saga story, how they're divided and stuff.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, for me, it got pretty deep around the end because of all the secrets, and it's sad to see when people were friends and then they weren't, and then like Captain America still has like a righteous heart, and he's like, if you ever need anything, like I'm still here. Like I know we got our differences,
Yeah.
but
It all comes.
I thought it was really good. It was, I mean, because the movie, I thought Zemo was amazing in that movie.
Sokovian. Is this what this is about? Sokovia was going to blow up.
We get introduced Black Panther in that movie, and we saw Spider-Man.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, it also deals, with that accountability. I think more about accountability than responsibility, because who does the cleanup work?
Yeah. And who allows you to go do what you need to do and stuff like that. Great movie. Just Winter Soldier's better.
I agree.
So the Infinity Saga includes Captain America with the time that's left with this episode, but I refer to him as Rogue Captain America, not Nomad Captain America. But it's pretty hype when you see Wanda and Vision and you think they're gonna die, and then it gets all quiet and the train goes away, and then she throws the spear, the bad lady does, and Captain America catches it, and the music starts. Dun, 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 dun. I can do that one. I can do that one. And that just, I remember seeing that moment when Captain America shows up, and there you go, Captain America.
I remember waiting for so long for Infinity War.
Yeah.
And it finally comes out, and we finally see Captain America return.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, I'm getting chills just remembering about that experience.
I remember at the end too. In the trailer, they did it beautifully too when he like grabs hold of the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
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 Bruh.
Yeah. Yeah. And
This whole
then,
conversation just makes me want to rewatch the whole saga again.
yeah, we'll just rewatch. We if you didn't know this about us, we repeat movies multiple times a year. And people probably we're probably the embodiment of those memes that you see is like, why are you crying? Why are you watching the same movie? And then they show like whatever the meme is or whatever, but that's us. And of course, there's my favorite movie of all time that has not been taken down, that has not been dethroned, which is Avengers Endgame. That whole movie speaks Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Avengers assembling, but it's really a Captain America movie. It's kind of the culmination of what we grew up with, the leadership, the power, the righteousness. Like Ultron says sarcastically, God's righteous man, But Captain America is special. And when you carry that mantle like Sam Wilson does, like Anthony Mackie does, it's going to be amazing. He did amazing. We loved the Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV series, probably number 3 that the MCU brought out on our list. But I guess my final thoughts about Captain America in the spotlight is just that embodiment of accountability, responsibility, leadership, and righteousness, as JP addresses it. Enough said.
I'm just in agreement with you, and I'm just thinking about the movies, how they made me feel and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
well, hopefully you've liked our first.
And those
Go ahead.
are undescribable.
Yeah, undescribable.
No, the feelings I have, it's just undescribable. Like I would have to really think about it to articulate it.
Cannot be put into words. Well, hopefully you've enjoyed our character spotlight, our first character spotlight, and we will continue making more. This is going to be my quick take on Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Now, first off, Tom Cruise is an amazing actor. He gets paid big bucks for all the stunts he does. In this movie, he does some incredible stunts. I don't know how many of them he did himself, but, for the large majority, I know that he does his own stunts. Obviously, where the film was located, all the film locations, cinematography was phenomenal. A lot of beautiful places around the world. But all the things I didn't like was the dialogue, the plot. I couldn't take it seriously. And on top of that, the movie starts out with him and the director like telling us, "We make these movies for you," and I'm like, "No, duh. Get on with the movie. Like, we don't need to see you before telling us that that whatever." So honestly, it's a fun film. It's funny. Tom Cruise is great. I just couldn't take the dialogue and the plot seriously. And that's a wrap. Well, that was JP's honest take on Mission Impossible. Hopefully you laughed a little. We love you, Tom Cruise. We're big fans. But that's our episode, our mid-year review or whatever. And can't wait for some more good stuff on the way.
BROHOOD out.